Welcome to episode 320 of Destination Linux. Destination Linux is a video podcast from the Tux Digital Network. If you're new to the show, this is a podcast perfect for all experience levels. Whether you're brand new to open source or a guru of sudo, this is the podcast for you. My name is Michael.
I'm Jill.
And I'm Ryan, and I'm finally in my new digs.
Woo-hoo!
I did it!
Yay!
Finally. And that's why we're back to another episode of the show. And on this week's episode of Destination Linux, we'll be visiting Jill's Computer Museum for a treasure hunt, which is one of it's everyone's favorite segment, I think. At least it's mine for sure. And then we take a look at some new offerings from Pine64. Plus we have our tips, tricks, and software picks, all of this and much more coming up right now on Destination Linux. This week's feedback comes from Russ. And if you want to send in your own feedback, you can go to tuxdigital.com/contact. You can send us through the contact form. You can send us an email. You could also do a forum post. So you can go to tuxdigital.com/forum to do that. And you might not know this, but we're also on Discord. We have our own Discord server, tuxdigital.com/discord to join in, hang out, and talk or even game with the community and all that stuff. And
whoa, Michael. This is my segment. Why are you introducing my segment right now?
Well, the reason is because there's a fantastic feedback we got from Russ this week, and I felt it'd be better for me to introduce this rather than Ryan.
Fine.
So this is what Russ had to say. I have been listening to your show for a couple of years now, and I must say it's a little stressful writing a message that will both convey my enthusiasm and love of the show and all of the hosts, while still paying enough respect to Ryan's ego that it will make it through his filtering system. Just joking, of course. I love this.
Greatest intro to an email ever.
It was perfect.
Yes.
It was perfect. It was so good it made me want to say it.
You know, like he loves the show so much that he had stress writing this to make sure it could meet my ego to get through the filter. It's just, that's so powerful. I love Russ.
Also, Russ says, I wanted to point out a bit of news that is more open source adjacent than Linux related. It's about a kind of open source license for tabletop gaming, and I know any mention of the word licensing is sure to grab Michael's attention, which is true, and that is a callback to many episodes ago, so that proves that that you've been watching for a couple of years, because we did a whole segment and a whole episode about licensing, because that is a thing that I'm pretty interested in, so that's really cool. Also, Paizo is the publisher of the Pathfinder tabletop game RPG. They announced yesterday, or actually when they sent in this email, that they had released the first draft of their Open RPG Creative license. Now, this is very interesting because of why this licensing thing was being created in the first place.
Yeah. So Russ talks about this, and I actually was following this story in the news and on Reddit posts and things about some things that Dungeons & Dragons were doing, Wizards of the Coast specifically, to Dungeons & Dragons. It was creating some interesting controversy, and I mean a lot of controversy. And I actually didn't realize a lot of the stuff. Well, I'll let Russ talk about it. He says, I don't want to spend too much time going into the history of it, but the short version is that Dungeons & Dragons has been published under an open gaming license for about 20 years now. I didn't know that they were under that, but it made sense because there's so many people who adapt and utilize that those rule sets, and a large extended ecosystem has grown up around it. A few months ago, it became known to the community that the D&D publisher Wizards of the Coast was planning to revoke the original OGL and put a new one in place. Basically, I'm altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further. This created quite an uproar. That was a quote there on that last part. And so they kind of put the instant response from, is it Paizo's community out there on there, and it's an interesting read. We'll have a link in the show notes. And they go on to finish out saying, I know it's not Linux or software related, so it may not have a place on your show. I disagree, because it's still very much correlated, I think, to them. So
our show is also heavily about open source, and this is a very important thing. Mm-hmm. And also our show is about geekdom.
Yes.
And this is one of the most cornerstone pillars of geekdom, right?
Yeah. Even Alex, one of our patrons in chat, just said, we love games. So there you go. It fits in perfectly. But I know we all like a good open source fight and thought you might find the controversy entertaining. Paizo counts solidly as good people for more reasons that I could go into here. It deserves a bit of recognition for the work they do. They recently announced there would be 2 new PC games in the Pathfinder setting. Perhaps we should make sure they know we want them on Linux. Thank you for the show and all the work you've done with it. Huge fan forever, Russ. Russ, you're so awesome. There's so much little pieces of your email that I love and shows that you've been a fan for a long time. But specific to the topic that you brought in here, so D&D, as I understand it, Wizards of the Coast was essentially looking through their books and realizing, hey, we don't monetize Dungeons and Dragons really well. It's got this open license. And so I'm trying to show from their perspective a little bit. And people were making all kinds of games off of it. You've got massive YouTube channels like Critical Role and all this stuff that are bringing in all this money and advertising and all these things. But they're doing all the work maintaining this rule set that they had open source. And they're saying, hey, we need to monetize this Dungeons and Dragons thing and bring some money into it, which it's kind of fair, right? They do a lot of this work.
Sure.
There's some fairness in saying, is there a way to monetize it? But instead of going to the community, because if you think Linux is hardcore community, Dungeons and Dragons is a really hardcore because it's been around forever. And people live by this game in a lot of cases. Some people play it casually, but the people who are obsessed with it are really obsessed with it. It's been a huge part of their lives.
Yeah.
And the
fact that it's some people's work too. That's not connected to the Wizards of the Coast. It's also like they're doing their own thing based on this like IP system. And what's crazy is that D&D wanting to make some money off of something like that, I totally get it. I understand why you'd want to do that. But the way they did it is a bit ridiculous because there are certain ways you could be asking for donations or something, or you could have like a licensing thing where you get extra benefits. But to try to revoke something you've been doing for 20 years, that's not going to go over well with basically anyone.
Yeah. But you could see this happening in open source software. I believe it has happened in the past.
Oh, yeah. It's happened.
They've started out as open source and then decided to lock it down because either other companies were taking all of their work and monetizing it and things along those lines. So we've seen this. It's really, to me, I don't think Wizards of the Coast was wrong in saying, hey, is there a way we can monetize this system better?
Yeah.
Where they went wrong is working back with the community to figure out what are some really creative ways that we could do that. I think if they had sent a letter out to the community, a plea, basically saying, hey, we have this many people dedicated to working on this as a company. We have to grow. We want to keep this open source.
Yeah,
what are
help
some
us
things
survive, that
help
sort
us
of thing.
survive? What are some things we could do that are creative that allows us to keep this openness that has helped Dungeons and Dragons become the name that it has been, but also allow us to monetize some things here. And I think you probably would have come back with some amazingly creative things from the community to do that. But other games kind of stepped in during this controversy and started taking over, like Pathfinder. And so they used this, they were smelling the blood in the water, and they used this to go after that D&D kind of staple in this role-playing tabletop market and be able to take that away from them, and started making their stuff more open source. So in a way, this could be better for tabletop gaming from an open source, because you're going to have more things trying to go the opposite direction to try to pull away from D&D. So
that's an interesting point. And I think that it's like definitely the Paizo people who do Pathfinder, when they heard this news, they were like, excellent.
Yes.
Yeah. No, this is such wonderful news. I've actually been going to gaming conventions for years. One we have locally called Strategicon. And a lot of the developers of the games are there. And I've heard them even do talks about how important Dungeons and Dragons was, because they did keep it open and people can, fork it and make their own versions of the games. Yeah. And without that, it dies.
Yeah, I'm going to fork an old version and call it Dens and Daggers.
Yeah.
And that way.
Wow. Really creative, Michael. Really creative.
Thank you.
But some of the stuff that Wizards of the Coast did too, the way they wrote this new licensing terms made things like Critical Role think, oh my gosh, we're going to have to go back and pay royalties on all the other stuff that we've done in the past. And
oh, wow.
Just the way they wrote it was horribly done, and it created all this stir and uproar. But again, we could see this in open source software. And number two is, we want to do, now that I finally kind of settled, we might actually have some time to do this and set up some D&D with our community, because it's something that's been requested heavily from our community to do some tabletop gaming with some of the hosts and stuff on there. We even have people who volunteered to do be dungeon masters, and I would love to record that and do some of our own content on it. But maybe it won't be Dungeons and Dragons based on this. Maybe it'll be Pathfinder. Maybe that's where
It could
we'll
be
go.
all sorts. I mean, we're open minded to it. The D&D part of it would be cool, provided that we don't get sued. And the reason that I think it'd be cool, at least, is I've never played D&D, and this would be an interesting thing to record. The first time ever D&D play of someone who is a geek and nerd who, like, I think that's a rarity. How many geeks and nerds have not played D&D?
Yeah,
right? I think it's a very
Michael.
small number.
We need to play swords and lasers. That's the Star Trek universe D&D.
Wouldn't swords and lasers be Star Wars? Swords and lasers? 'Cause Star Trek don't have a... I mean, I guess you got...
Batleth is the most sword-like thing.
Michael, your Star Trek knowledge and Jill's Star Trek knowledge makes me feel bonded to both of you. Like, a lot of this stuff in my background is all Star Trek's a big part of my life, like D&D is a big part of other people's lives. But I do want to mention in our Discord, we have a new tabletop gaming section. So if you want to go talk and set up some plans for some tabletop gaming, go check out our Discord there. Or write your own license
for tabletop gaming.
And we also, because we're about everything geek, right? We've got a new fitness channel there as well. So if you're wanting to get ripped like a warrior in D&D as well as play some tabletop
If you want to
gaming,
have noodle arms just like Ryan, you can totally go into that.
You could have my noodle arms. Everyone, you could do all of that. So we've got a lot of cool stuff going on in the Tux Digital Network sphere. But again, Russ, thank you for this awesome email and bringing this to attention. Absolutely feel like it fits the show perfectly, and would love to see people's comments in the Tabletop Gaming Discord channel to see what you think about what D&D's done and Pathfinder's done to kind of pick up the slack there.
And something you never have to worry about picking up the slack because their servers are always fantastic. We're going to talk about Linode right now. This episode of Destination Linux is brought to you by Linode. Linode.com/tux. That's Linode.com/TUX. And see why over 1 million developers trust Linode for their infrastructure. Linode provides solutions and services to accelerate innovation. And what do you mean by that? Well, they allow you to be able to build everything yourself on their servers, or you can use their one-click apps with their plethora of options in the Linode's app marketplace to deploy everything from Plesk and WordPress to Valheim and Minecraft servers. In fact, we have one of those Minecraft servers, in fact, yes. And Linode even has a VPN-friendly virtual server so you can create secure connections over the internet, protecting you on stuff like public Wi-Fi if you're at a cafe or a hotel or an airport or something like that, which you definitely need to have if you are in those places and using Wi-Fi. If that wasn't enough, every plan that you get with Linode has amazing human-powered customer support. You might be wondering, how is it human-powered? Is it like the Matrix human-powered? No, it's not like that. It's humans are involved in the customer support. So if you send an email or you post on social media or if you call, that you're going to get a response from a human. Crazy.
A whole human? A real one?
A whole human. Not one in those pods or anything. It's a whole human. 24/7, 365. So for this, Linode.com/tux. That's Linode.com/TUX to get your account. And when you do, you're going to let them know that we sent you, which will be good for us, of course, but also good for you because you get a 60-day, $100 free credit when you go to Linode.com/tux. Thanks again to Linode for sponsoring this episode of Destination Linux. And remember, to get started on their awesome cloud platform, go to Linode.com/TUX.
All right, so it's time for everybody's favorite segment. Michael, you said you know it's yours, but I know it's everyone's because we get a lot of comments about this. And in fact, at Scale, one of the things we brought to Scale, the conference, was Jill's very first treasure hunt episode, the computer from that episode, and people were enthralled by that, Jill. So absolutely, it's time to bring this back. So Jill, you've been going through your treasure trove, your museum of computers and gadgets and electronics. What did you find to bring today?
So today I'm going to show off one of my unique mini computers for treasure hunt that runs Linux and is important to the maker and hacker space in so many ways. That is a Chumby.
A Chumby. Yes, I know nothing about this.
I have never heard of this. However, I'm curious, if it gets knocked down, does it get back up? Because it's Chumby Wumby.
Michael,
Chumby Wumby, yes.
Please, Michael.
So the Chumby was a consumer electronic formerly made by Chumby Industries Incorporated, and it was released in February 2008, on the Chumby store at www.chumby.com. It's an embedded computer which provides internet and LAN access via Wi-Fi connection. And through this connection, the Chumby runs various software widgets, which are the apps. Roughly resembles a small clock radio. The original Chumby features a small resistive touchscreen housed in a leather and plastic exterior with 6 color options. You could use it as a web browser, a music player, a kitchen assistant, a shopping list creator, a meal planner, a calendar, a photo album, an egg timer, a calculator, to even display lolcats,
Nice.
lolcats, show you the weather and news headlines, and yes, even as a plain old alarm clock and clock radio that wakes you up in the morning. Has an adorable and easy to use touchscreen interface with a squeeze button on the top that goes to the menu.
You know, I feel like
Nice.
this device, seeing it that I didn't know anything about, is way ahead of its time, because you're
when
seeing
was this
very
made?
similar 2008.
Yeah, 2008.
Very similar devices from Google coming out, from Amazon coming out. Where
yeah.
if you told me this was the new, Alexa device that Amazon released, I might believe you. Other than the fact that it's covered in leather and doesn't steal all your private data. So
Yes, exactly. It's such a beautifully done device. And what's really cool is when you first bought it and started up, a nice movie plays when you turn the Chumby on, and it gives you a quick tour of the interface and main features. And it is so adorable. You can find it on YouTube. It's really
Nice.
cute. This is such a special computer for me. My Chumby was my soft and squishy, cute bedside companion that ran
Aw.
Linux, let me listen to podcasts, play internet radio streams, check the weather, check my email, and yes, tell me the time with beautiful clock animations, as you're seeing here. Here's a cute one with little fishies. And this little computer, many people in our community have actually asked me about, because I've had it on display next to me here in my studio. It's been on this rack over here, and you could always see like the half of it in the rack. And I'd have people say, "Is that a Chumby?" And I say, "Yes."
Wow,
So other
very
people did
attentive
know.
people.
Was that Pong?
Yeah. Yes.
there?
Yeah, a Pong
Oh
clock.
my gosh, that's so cool.
And there's a Matrix clock and all
I saw a
kinds of-
Star Trek theme that you
Yeah.
had loaded on there, which made me very happy to see.
Yeah, there's an
And-
El Cars clock.
I feel like they could re-release this device with maybe slightly updated specs, and it would be just as relevant
Maybe more
today.
than slightly, but yes.
Yes.
Mycroft. It looks like kind of like the Mycroft thing out there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah, actually, because it's got a friendly exterior.
Yeah.
And the other wonderful thing about this device, it was released in May 2008, and the price was only $179.95. And it
Oh,
came
wow.
with, and that's cheap, especially back
Yeah.
then.
Oh yeah.
It's a very cheap price.
So and it came in 3 different colors, latte like this one, basic black, and pearl white. And other colors.
I'm disappointed they didn't call it like midnight black or something.
Oh,
they have
yeah.
latte and pearl white and just black. Come on.
Yeah, just black. So other colors were added later, such as rust brown, cardinal, and purple amethyst.
See that, now I respect
Yeah.
those. Yes.
Yeah.
Cardinal for
Amethyst.
red. Good job.
Yeah.
Like it.
And it has a Freescale ARM 350 megahertz processor in it, 64 megabytes of RAM, and 64 megabytes of NAND flash ROM. And it has a 3.5-inch LCD color TFT screen that's 320 by 240 by 16 colors. And it's got 2 2-watt speakers that actually, they sound amazing. The speakers in this thing are awesome. And that's one reason why it makes such a good clock radio. It sounds really good. And it's even, it's got a headphone jack too, and a microphone, and you can adjust the backlight. It's got 2 USB 2.0 ports for doing your hacks.
Nice.
And all the goodies. And it uses Wi-Fi 802.11b and G. And power is supplied by an external AC adapter. You can see it's plugged in. And there is also a connector for a 9-volt battery for emergency power inside So
Well, I have an important question for you, Jill. Did it actually come with the AC adapter? We know this is a rare occurrence
yeah.
nowadays in electronics, in which you now, to save the environment, have to go spend more money with
To
a
get
now
more
separate
cardboard,
package to get more
more
cardboard
shipping.
to
Yeah.
unbox it so that you have a proper way of powering it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The logic behind that
absolutely.
decision is insane.
It's genius, really.
Yeah. No, it absolutely came. It came with this adapter, and not only is it's not just a plain adapter. It actually has the Chumby logo on it, which is a little
Oh, that's nice.
octopus.
Nice. So
And-
not only do you get for $179, you got this device, you also got the adapter, which means
Yeah.
that you actually that means the price of that device was really $159.
Yeah. True, Michael. Yes.
You know what's interesting too is you talked about putting the logo on the adapter and that, you kind of just breezed by that. But as a geek who has endless cords, especially
I
after
know.
moving recently,
Oh, it's very
Yeah.
helpful.
having
It's-
the logo on an AC adapter, I'm going to tell you that if you're a company that does this, I love your face. Please, could every company put their logo on the adapter so I know which adapter goes with which
Yes.
device?
Yeah, even if it's just a sticker, that will still be 1,000
I know,
times
it's
better
better.
than what we usually have to do.
Yes.
Just,
I mean, I put labels on all my cords because I have thousands for
That's
my
pretty
computer
smart.
collection.
Yes.
That shows you're organized. However, in my
Yeah.
case, I just have little bins here in the background for those who are watching the video version that are full of cords that go to something,
Yeah.
but I'm afraid to throw them away. And by the way, for those who are like, don't be afraid to throw them away, I have thrown away some at times and then immediately will have
Within,
some
like, a
reason
week.
that I needed that cord
Yeah.
that I threw away that thought I would never need again.
I have done
I
that
know.
too.
Yeah.
Oh boy, that's always a pain. So some of the special features of the Chumby, it has what was called a bend sensor for squeeze-based user interface to interact with a screen animation or games. I mean, talk about way ahead of its time. I'm so OCD, I didn't want to squeeze it, because I want it to look like brand new. So because I've
Nice.
seen some other people's Chumbies that are all cracked and everything because they squeezed it too much.
That'd be Michael
So
using
I'm
his
very
power
gentle.
hands to just
Yes,
crush
my
it.
incredible grip.
Yeah,
Yes.
incredible grip there. Mhm.
Even like rock climbers have nothing on my grip.
Yes.
The
You don't need
Chumby
thumbs for
having a
rock climbing.
squeeze interface is really
Yeah.
interesting
I don't know,
because you
that's
see
fine,
that
actually.
in phones now,
Yeah,
right? That's a
exactly.
big thing in a lot of the devices that you could squeeze it and make it launch an app or do other things. So very cool that I wonder, did they patent any of this stuff so that they could make money off of all of this technology they have?
Yeah, I'm sure some of it, I mean, most of it is open source licenses because it does run Linux. And even the firmware, most of it is open with the GPL and other licenses.
Amazing.
But there is some that are some proprietary blobs, obviously. So that may be one of their proprietary. Yeah. And the Chumby has a 3-axis accelerometer for motion and tilt sensing. So in some games, like if you play Pong, you can actually use this as tilt it so the
That
paddle
is so
moves,
cute.
gets the ball.
Love this device. Man,
And-
they thought of everything. For that. Do you imagine what
really
this would
did.
cost today? Like it would be
Oh.
like from $600 starting
Yeah.
point, and they would slap an Apple logo on it, something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, and there is something else really unique about the Chumby. The Chumby the interface is based off of Flash. Yes, Adobe Flash. The Chumby displays small Flash movie widgets, and these Flash movies can do anything that Flash movies can do within the limits of Flashlight 3 embedded. Flashlight 3 is the Flash player that the Chumby runs.
Interesting. Good old Flash. Boy,
Yeah.
missed those days.
Said no one ever.
Well, here's the irony of this. Adobe Flash costs more than the Chumby.
Yeah.
And we have, more open source tools now to do Flash, even though they're not really being maintained. But at this time, there were not. So
Yeah.
you were pretty stuck with using Flash. There were a few that were limited, but you were pretty stuck doing Flash. So if you were a
Wasn't that
developer,
Flash's tagline? You're stuck using
You're
us?
stuck
yeah,
using
you're
Flash.
stuck Flash. There were actually many apps to choose from companies and, individuals alike, like Flickr, Picasa, PhotoBucket, There's
Yay.
Toasty, the Chumby kitchen timer. They had their own apps,
Nice,
Chumby,
nice.
and Google Calendar. And the music section of the Chumby control panel has several options that let you listen to music from a variety of locations. And these include iPod, Shoutcast streams, MediaFly podcasts, and radio streams in MP3 or OGG from radio stations, or your own local Slim server, or music files in OGG, MP3, or FLAC format from a USB flash drive that you can plug into the back.
Nice. I mean, especially the supporting FLAC is pretty
Yeah.
cool. That's pretty early stages.
That was
for a
early.
device like that.
This absolutely. And I'm so happy to say this. One of my favorite apps to listen to and discover new music was the Pandora Music app, and it still works. It still works on here. I was
Nice.
so happy.
My goodness.
Yeah, I was, because a lot of the apps from the companies don't work anymore because they've changed their APIs and whatnot, like Google Mail and Twitter and whatnot. So
So you're saying that Pandora needs to update pretty quickly.
yeah, so I'm happy Pandora didn't update the API that the Chumby uses. The other wonderful thing, of course, is the underlying operating system is embedded Linux, and all the source code free and open, and it uses the GNU General Public License version 2 and the GNU Lesser General Public License version 2.1. Just such a wonderful computer. It really is. And so much thought and care has gone into the design of the Chumby. So much effort was made to make the Chumby as easy to use as possible.
Yeah.
And, even the packaging contains like some really nice touches, such as it has a linen bag. The Chumby arrived in a linen bag instead of a box.
Okay, now we're at $999 in current cost for Chumby to be
Look at this
released.
bag it came in. It came in this bag.
Oh, it's also
Aw.
a branded bag, therefore
Yeah.
it's 999 point.
99.
And
Yeah.
that was the AC adapter and the Chumby. Everything was in this bag. And what's really neat also, you could decorate your Chumby with little charms like this one. It's on my Chumby. That's the little
Oh,
octopus.
nice. Did it come with the charm when you got it?
Yes, it comes with the charm. And then I bought more charms. All these little charms. This is a Chumby Cloud Bee, little cloud charm.
Nice.
And
And now these days those
Flame
charms would
bee.
be like 50 a piece.
Yes.
Yeah, at least. You know what's interesting, Michael, is
Little bag.
we never heard about this device, you and I.
Yeah, I've never.
And
know,
yet
I'm amazed.
the marketing from a product standpoint, I don't know what their marketing was once it released, but from a product standpoint of thinking about the packaging that goes into it,
Yeah,
all
they
the
put a lot
various
of effort into
features, the charm capability, and adding all of these things to personalize it, the color choices for a 2008 product. I feel like this thing should have went gangbusters because from a product marketing standpoint of design, incredible. What happened that made this thing, or was it super popular and Michael and I
Yes,
just lived
it was.
under a
In
rock?
fact,
Okay,
I'm
we
gonna-
live under a rock. Got
Well,
it.
it depends on like what level of like where maybe it's super popular in a certain section, and then Ryan and I just weren't in that section of people.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's my excuse.
Okay, there we go.
In the makerspace, this little Linux-powered computer is so important for so many reasons. It was one of the first hackable computers before the Raspberry Pi, like we talked about earlier, with open hardware and software. The Chumby company even sold a Chumby kit so you could build one yourself and use it in projects. And people would build Chumbys in all shapes and sizes and use them for many things in projects like we use, Raspberry Pis today and other single board computers. So it really revolutionized the industry. And so it was so popular that they came out with the second one called a Chumby One.
And Jill, of course, has one that she's
Yes.
reaching to. By the way, for those not watching the video version of the show, you're really
There's
missing
kitty cats.
out because, Jill has a kitty cat, number one, which means we win the internet. And number two, Jill actually has a Chumby t-shirt.
Yes.
Yes.
Just realized you have a Chumby shirt
I do.
on now. Yeah, very
Wow.
I do. Yeah, there's some reasons for that, and I'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah. For those who are not who have or listen to the audio only version, the entire time we're talking about the Chumby, there is a physical Chumby being held up by Jill to talk about it.
Jill really has strong arms now that I'm thinking about it. Like, I don't know that I could sit there and hold devices up for 40 minutes talking about them.
Exactly.
So don't mess with Jill. Anyways, continue, Jill.
So this one came out in November of 2009. And although it's not as cute and it lost the rounded edges and squishy case, it added some very important features. It had a dedicated volume knob, so you didn't have to do that in software. It came with the ability to put in a rechargeable battery for uninterrupted mobility. And it has an FM transmitter in it. That's what this long string is.
Cool.
Nice.
And it's got a more powerful processor at 454 megahertz.
Slow down there,
And-
Chumby.
Yeah, and the hard plastic case actually allowed Chumby Industries to offer the Chumby One at a reduced price of $119.95.
I do not understand this pricing strategy.
Yes, it
This is
was.
unbelievable.
I don't know how they made a lot of their money because, yeah. So it was actually I do, and I'm going to talk about it in just a few minutes. But it's just really amazing the price point. I mean, again, this is before the age of the Raspberry Pi. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When,
Well, I was
Many
when
gonna
you
years.
had
ask
little
you-
mini computers.
Jill, like, did you feel that the second edition of this, because it took away the squishy sides and stuff, which I immediately miss when you
Yes.
held up this new one, do you feel like they went backwards in a way?
Yes, they did. They did, and I think.
But the
this
screen
one-
looks better and it looks better quality.
Yeah.
You can play more videos and stuff like that. So I think like it's a better overall product. If they
Absolutely.
had just embraced a different approach of being silly, if they called it the Chumby 1B, then it'd been okay.
Oh,
Good, Michael.
you should have been in charge of their marketing there, Michael. By the way,
Yeah.
on eBay, there is one squishy side Chumby left for $111.59 in the UK. So for our
Yeah.
UK listeners, you might be able to grab one of
Grab
these.
one.
And the second edition Jill's now holding up is available for $100. There's one of those left, but there's only two on all of eBay. So
Oh yeah, they
this is a
sometimes-
rare item.
It is, and I've seen because it pops up so rarely on eBay. The last one I saw that was on eBay sold for $400. So
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for whoever is listening to this and wants to get it, jump
Go
on
grab
that
it
quickly.
now.
yeah. So speaking about the popularity of the device, so around this time, lots of companies, when this Chumby One was produced, lots of companies started making Chumby devices, including Best Buy, who made one for their Insignia brand of devices, if you can believe that. And Best Buy even had, oh my gosh, this was so amazing. They had a whole section of the store dedicated to all the different brands of Chumbies. It made me drool, and I wanted them all.
Where was I during this period? I feel like I was living under a rock or something.
I just, it's crazy because I've never heard of, seen of, or any advertising or anything for this device. And it seems like such a perfect thing for this community, to have never heard of it is so weird because I mean, especially
So
if
cool.
they're doing it in Best Buy to that degree, and like we
I
have
know.
Best Buys
I
here.
practically
It's not
live
like-
in Best
And
Buy.
think of
I mean,
it,
Right?
it was the first Linux device at a Best Buy, a first Linux computer at a Best Buy.
I love this treasure
And-
hunt, Jill. This is so cool.
This is awesome.
Oh, cool. And the Chumby company even made a Chumby app in 2009 for Android and WebOS. And I used it on my HP touchpad and my
What?
HP Pre 3.
My mind is literally blown. One of my favorite mobile operating systems ever was used here.
My
Yeah.
favorite for sure.
Yes.
Oh,
And I have another Chumby to show you
What?
as a result of them being showcased at Best Buy.
now wait, there's more. For just $19.99 a month, you can. Oh, sorry, I felt like an infomercial.
Different
there.
infomercial, Ryan.
My bad.
Okay, this is a nice big screen. This is the Sony Dash, or Dash Personal Internet Viewer. Yes, this is a Sony Chumby.
It's
Wow.
really updated in this case.
Yeah.
What we're seeing for those listening to the podcast, you have a much bigger screen,
Yeah,
way
much
more
bigger
colorful.
screen.
Looks modern. Looks like something they released today. When would this
Yeah.
one come out?
Well, this one came out in Sony announced the Dash at the Consumer Electronics Show in 2010, and it was made available for sale in late April 2010 for $199. That's still a steal.
Man,
That's still good, yeah.
And, it has a 499 megahertz processor and 800 by 480 resolution, 7-inch screen, and, all the features of the original Chumby. And what was nice is that there is themes to this one. So I'm using the LCARS theme because it has more screen real estate. They were able to do more theming with it.
this reminds me of the time when companies hadn't given up yet. A lot of the tech companies into this idea that there had to be Android or iOS. And that's
Yeah.
the only thing that could exist. And that's what we've been in for like a decade now, is stuck in this thing of like, there can only be two. And
Yeah.
you're going to use one of those. These companies were taking risks. They were being creative with their operating systems. And this is obviously a demonstration of that back then.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And in July 27th, Blue Octi, this is the company that revived Chumby technology, they undertook an effort to rescue the Sony Dash after Sony discontinued support for it. And by 2017, a patch was released for the Sony Dash to allow them to connect to the Blue Octi Chumby servers and extending their useful life. And mine is running the custom mod that Blue Octi created. So you put the mod, it's a zip file you put on a flash drive, not unlike what you do with a Raspberry Pi. And you stick it in and you boot with the flash drive and it puts the mod in there. So I wanted to show you some of the one of the games you could play.
Yeah, absolutely. Love to
So-
see that. And by the way, the subscription service is $3 a month and is still going. So there's a huge following of Chumby
Oh, yeah.
fans out there. That those servers are still available, and just $3 a month, and you get access to those servers to run stuff. So, okay, so you're showing the accelerometer.
Yeah.
Jill playing Pong,
Playing
and
Pong.
you're tilting the device.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is cool.
You're not very good at Pong while you're
No,
doing
well,
a video
it's a
and
little
holding
hard.
it up, Jill.
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
and doing a podcast.
Jeez,
yeah.
Jill.
Yeah.
You ever
It's a little
notice that
difficult doing it live?
there are people who will make comments about that when you're doing demos and stuff on the video, like, "Oh, you're not good at this game." Like, I'm not playing the game right now.
Right,
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
showing you the
You're
demo.
talking about it.
Can you get Wolfenstein 3D playing on that, Jill, for us? I just made that up. I have no idea if it could ever do it, but I just thought I saw Wolfenstein on it, and I was like, that would be awesome to play Wolfenstein 3D on that little device.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, you could play Quake and Doom.
Oh, just as good.
Nice.
Just as
And
good.
what was really cool for the originals, Chumby, it works on the big ones too, but Quake and Doom, you control the movement. Instead of using a mouse, you control the movement with the Chumby itself. It's really cool.
They're great
Yeah,
some challenges.
And you click on the screen to shoot. So that
Nice.
was really cool. So
Well, I'll tell you, after everything you've told us so far, Jill, I would rather have this device than the modern day Amazon Echo. I would rather have this device than the Google Home. I'd rather have this device than most of the Home Assistant devices that are out there today.
oh, absolutely.
I feel like it's not only was it ahead of its time, but it's still useful today.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was so reasonably priced in its time, and also the screen, just like the device kept getting bigger and bigger, but even the first version was still quite good for
Oh, yeah.
what they charged.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
And there's just, I'm going to talk a little bit about my history with the Chumby and why I have this shirt. There actually weren't any apps where you could play live video streams, just audio streams on the Chumby. So I actually wanted to watch my favorite shows live at the time.
Destination
So-
Linux.
Yeah, it
Naturally,
wasn't
yeah.
around then, unfortunately.
Oh, really?
They're
So-
always around.
I know, I'm so sorry.
It feels like we were always there.
Yeah, exactly. So I actually wrote several scripts for live streaming of Twit and the Linux Action Show via command line and SSH. And this was tricky because The original Chumby it's only 350 megahertz, 64 megabytes of RAM, and only uses a 320 by 240 resolution LCD screen. And the Chumby Classic, this wasn't all that powerful. But I remember spending hours trying to get the command line app called BT Player on the Chumby to play the lowest resolutions possible of the streams and the lowest bit rates so I can stream them on the Chumby. And I used to watch Chris Fisher of the Linux Action Show on here every Saturday.
Look at that. That's so cool. I mean, you're a traitor, Jill, for not playing our show that wasn't around during that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Still amazing. I mean, you've broken our hearts.
Aww.
But you should have known that this show would have been around and wrote a script for it now.
Yeah, you should have been anticipating 10 years earlier that the show was going to exist.
Well, actually, truth be told, I have listened to a lot of Destination Linux on my Chumby.
All right.
So,
now you're making up for it. That's better. Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Future is
I
not.
have.
The future is that doesn't mean what you think it means.
Oh.
And in fact, honestly, the first few episodes of Destination Linux, that's how I listened to it, was on the Chumby. Because there was an app that someone in the community made where it allowed you to search, for Linux or, tech. Destination Linux came up. And honestly,
Nice.
I just realized that this is where I found Destination Linux was on the Chumby.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh my gosh, look at that. Some history here.
Yeah.
Yes, I love
That
it.
is awesome.
I still use my Chumby today. Like I said, it's been running in here in my studio since I started the show, and I've used it as a clock radio for years.
Just that's amazing that hardware was made to last to that level, that it's still running so good today.
Yeah.
I feel like if other companies in tech release these things today, they would break in a year. On top of having to buy the AC adapter, on top of having all of your privacy, you would have to scroll on that little screen 8 pages worth of privacy policy scripts and terms and conditions before you could ever use it. Like today, this product would be ruined in the current way we release things, but back then, just so ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Everything will be attached with glue.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely.
Right.
So now about how I got this shirt. So I went to Maker Faire Bay Area in 2009 and talked to the developers of Chumby.
Of course you did.
And they had an awesome booth there. And yes, I wanted to go to Maker Faire anyways, but I literally went there specifically to talk to the Chumby developers because I was so excited about this product. And I just loved it. I actually showed up wearing a Linux shirt, of course, with the Chumby necklace and my handmade Chumby and Debian shoes I often wear to the Southern California Linux Expo.
What? Are you serious? This is unbelievable. Okay, so Jill's pulling out a pair of shoes with a Debian logo and a Chumby logo made on them. Yes.
Yes.
Nice.
That's
Jill.
how much I love the Chumby. And of course,
Wow.
I have Debbie on here because it's one of my favorite Linux distros.
Were you wearing the Chumby shoes when you met them?
Yes. And
Nice.
that's why they were so blown away that they gave me the shirt I'm wearing. They were like, "Oh my God, we have a real fan!"
You know what, Michael? I'm tired of how cool Jill's stories are in life.
I know, right? We need to work on
I just want to tell one of my
coming
stories. Like Buzz Aldrin, my best friend, and I went up in a rocket and we landed on the moon together.
Interesting.
And I wore shoes with Buzz's name on them, so he decided to take me in a rocket, and we flew around the moon a couple times. And I'm cool too, people.
That seems like totally legit, Ryan. I believe every word of it.
Jill has the coolest stories ever, though. Like, how
That
do you
is true.
compete with these stories? Like, she always has some story of where she's met the people that make the thing and produce. It's not just her owning it. It's her passion for the whole story of being a part of their journey.
I mean,
like
she's giving me more incentive, not necessarily to create my own collection because I'll never compete, but to create my own, challenge her in the awesome stories collection.
Well, you can create some shoes, Michael, with my logo on them, and then come talk to me.
Why would I do that?
You're such a fan, you jerk.
I'll make one with your noodle arms on the shoes.
And the other thing the developers are really impressed with is the hack that I did with the streaming of Linux Action Show on Twit. And they were like, "You really got it to do that?" Because they didn't think something that, this not this powerful
Nice.
could do something like streaming video. So audio, of course, because that's part of its infrastructure, but video was a thing, and they were really impressed with that. So I showed them streaming. What was nice was I was there on Saturday, and the Linux Action Show was live, so I got to show it to them live.
Very nice. Well, now we get it, Michael. We get it 10 years later.
Yeah.
We get it. Yep.
Yes.
So
I think it is cool that she found the show on that.
Yeah.
Like that is
Absolutely.
It's true.
fantastic.
It's part
Absolutely.
of history right there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We didn't even know this until the show.
You found the show, Jill, and
I
then you became part of the show.
Well, it was funny because I didn't write that in the show notes I gave you. I wrote, because I wanted it to be a surprise.
It's awesome news.
We appreciate that. That's amazing. And also like the process of going from finding the show on the Chumby to then presenting the Chumby on the show.
Yeah.
It's just that's
I know.
fantastic, right?
I know my Linux journey has become full circle. That's how I look at it. I get to share all my wonderful things with my favorite people in the world, and I get to be part of that world with Destination Linux. You guys are so
Favorite
special
people,
to
she
me.
means specifically me, and then Michael, you would be like
Michael
on
and
that
Ryan.
list, but you're a little further down.
Oh,
the
okay.
list.
So you're saying you're number one. I'm like number 7.
Yeah. 8,
I get it.
10.
8. Oh wow.
Aw.
I got demoted.
So another place I featured the Chumby, it was I put it on display at my Linux Chicks LA booth at Scale 7X in 2010. And I made an app that would play a slideshow of pictures from our Linux Chicks LA website. And unfortunately, I couldn't show it to you because our website has changed. So
Very cool.
Unlike Pandora.
yeah, unlike Pandora, I could not believe it because I hadn't checked Pandora in a while. And it worked.
Neither is anybody else.
I know. As I've been listening for years, a lot of Shoutcast streams and whatnot on it, but I hadn't checked Pandora because I just assumed it wouldn't be supported anymore.
Yeah.
We're accidentally sending Pandora shade.
Yeah.
Pandora's like, hey, we got a listener. Yes.
Aw. So the sad thing was the end of Chumby. So in April 2012, Chumby announced the ending of hardware sales. And in February 20th, 2013, Chumby shut down its servers, leaving users with a simple clock that shows time, calendar, and date. But the cool thing, as of January 13th, Blue Octi was in the process of reviving the Chumby technology with one of the original Chumby developers working on the project. So towards that end, on March 2014, Blue Octi began beta testing the soon-to-be revived Chumby service at www.chumby.com. And on July 1st, 2014, Blue Octi relaunched the Chumby service as a sustainable subscription-based platform at only $3 a month, and I've been subscribed ever since. I've been subscribed, since I was one of their first beta tester subscribers because I wanted my Chumby working.
I want to make this offer out there. If any of the Chumby developers are listening to this, we'd love to have you on the show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I would
absolutely.
love to talk to you about the history of this device and maybe even the plans for the future with it, because this is just so unbelievably cool.
I know. Imagine what it would be today.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I was hoping that Google and Amazon, would put out their clock systems that would be as good as this, and they're maybe a tenth as good.
Yeah. They're releasing with all the latest technology and stuff,
Yeah.
and they've made it worse than this device by far, by long shot. This is something I would absolutely want to own today. That's why when we were talking, I went to eBay. While you were talking about it, I'm like, oh, let me grab one of these.
Fortunately, you can, because the Chumby service is up, and a good chunk of the apps work, and all the base apps still work. So you can get one for yourself and have your little Linux companion by your side, like I do.
Well, Jill, you never disappoint when you bring something from your absolutely amazing museum, and this treasure hunt, one of my favorites, I think. One of my favorite
yeah.
treasure hunts.
Yes.
Yeah.
ever in there. And I know you've got lots more of information on this. But again, I hope the developers come on and we can ask them about some of the history of this device. And hopefully all of you listening have enjoyed this, and go back and check out the video version. This is definitely one of those where you want to go on YouTube and check out the video version of this podcast so you can see this device and why we're so blown away. So, Joe, one of the things that I would absolutely want on a future Chumby device is to make sure I had access to Bitwarden. And this episode of Destination Linux is brought to you by Bitwarden. Get started right now with your free account at bitwarden.com/TUX. That's /tux. A password manager software allows you to have peace of mind knowing that your online accounts are secure. Bitwarden provides you the tools to store all your passwords in a secured vault, auto-generate those passwords and usernames for you, and even automatically fill in those passwords in login forms so you don't have to. You can access your data across a plethora of devices, web browser, mobile apps, desktop applications, even the command line. You can have Bitwarden there. And Bitwarden seals and encrypts your private data with end-to-end encryption before it ever leaves your device. So you're the only person with access to your data. So go to bitwarden.com/tux to get started. And you can get started for free, but you're going to want to check out their premium account, which gets you a gigabyte of encrypted file storage, 2-step login with YubiKey U2F Duo, Vault Health Reports, Bitwarden Authenticator, priority customer support, and all of this. We talked about great values earlier. You get all of this for less than $1 per month. That's right. You could get Bitwarden and have peace of mind with your passwords and sensitive data for a year for less than 2 cups of coffee at some places. I think all the coffee places at this point. I've been doing a lot of traveling, and you realize how much coffee has inflated lately. But Bitwarden stayed the same price, which is why we love it. So go to bitwarden.com/tux to get started. And thanks again to Bitwarden for sponsoring Destination Linux. By the way, Michael, we have a new show coming on the network, and it's a show unlike any other show we've had before. And I'm not going to reveal all the information here, but it's going to be big. But the person isn't necessarily a computer person, and which is interesting. I know that's going to ignite some thoughts in people.
Right.
And one of the things that I did is I got them set up on Bitwarden when we were setting up all of the accounts and stuff. And I was like, yeah, let's just get you set up for free. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I want to pay for it. They literally said that. I'm not making that up. And they just signed up right there because they didn't realize this type of service existed. So this is something really cool. And if you already have Bitwarden, considering sharing it with your friends and family like that, because once they find out the power of this, it's going to help a lot. So check out Bitwarden, bitwarden.com/tux.
All right, people, it's time. We're going to apologize to you, but it's time to get your wallets out and spend some money.
Again?
So
I just got my wallet out for a Chumby.
Yeah.
I know, but unfortunately, this is going to keep happening.
More
this
money.
episode.
Okay.
So Pine64 has announced 2 new tablets that are available for pre-order. They're the PineTab-2 and the PineTab-V/5. I'm not sure if what they're implying.
Five. It's got to be 5.
You would
For
assume,
risk
but
5.
you would assume, but then what at some point when they get from PineTab-2 to 3 to 4, and then what are they going to do? To just skip it to 6
Well,
or
it's
something?
risk 5, so it's 5. You know, you just skip.
It's just complicated. That's all I'm saying. It's just,
Didn't Windows skip a bunch of numbers in between? We didn't get a 9. Windows
yes,
9.
but we don't base decisions on what Microsoft does.
Yes. Absolutely.
Touche.
But anyway, so these are some new tablets that are coming out that are really interesting because, like Ryan said, that the PineTab-V/5 is being based on RISC-V architecture. So you can get the PineTab-2 with ARM or the PineTab-V/5 with RISC-V hardware. And this is a very cool, like basically in terms of hardware goes, they're almost completely identical with a slightly different case and a slightly different, well, entirely different structure of how it works. But this is really cool because you get two USB-C ports, you get a digital video out port, you get front and rear cameras. Now, it's not going to be the greatest camera ever, obviously, but still pretty good for what you're getting. And also, it's going to have a 6,000 milliamp hour battery. Now,
That's pretty powerful.
yeah, clearly, this is an interesting thing. And I want to talk about how they announced this. So a couple weeks ago, they announced the release of this particular device. Unfortunately, they announced it on April 1st. So no one believed it was real because
Yeah.
it seemed like, oh, this is a cool idea. We have a RISC-V tablet. Then they look at the date and it's April 1st. And then they look at the images and there's rainbows and unicorns and stuff. And it seems very playful and not true. So people just kind of ignored it. And then a couple weeks later, we realized, oh, it's actually a thing. Great. Now we'll talk about it. So this is more of like a PSA to anybody who's doing any sort of announcement, whether it's hardware or software or anything that's related to something being real. Don't do it on the 1st of April.
That's good advice there. I think you didn't mention too, this is 1200 by 800, 10.1 inch IPS LCD panels in both of these. So really nice there. But we talked about this in a prior episode for something else, to stop announcing products on April Fool's Day. Or maybe we should just get rid of April Fool's Day because it's kind of a stupid holiday.
It is a ridiculous holiday, but unfortunately, it's probably never going to go away because, in fact, it used to be just a U.S. thing, I think, and then it is now expanded across the world. So you're welcome, world. But the the idea of releasing something real on April 1st, let's just stop that because it's not going to be taken seriously. And especially if you have some like imagery and some text in your announcement that was seemingly a joke. So, but with that said, this is really cool because Pine64 does a lot of great stuff that we are big fans of. We've had him on the show multiple times for interviews, and we are fans of their hardware because they do a thing that is it's kind of crazy in the tech world. It's called transparency and honesty.
Yes,
I'm confused.
Weird, I know. But what they do is that they create a product and they upfront tell you about what this product can do and what it can't do and who it's made for. Because not all of their products are going to be made for everyone. The RISC-V PineTab the PineTab-V/5 is going to be not for everyone, and actually not for most people, because it doesn't have any software yet.
Yeah, it's experimental.
So, it's made to put hardware out there in the market, and then the developers and people interested in writing for RISC-V now have an architecture to base their software on, and they make that very clear so you don't accidentally grab that and go, oh my gosh, I thought it was going to come with an OS and things that I could play with. It's just basically a hardware.
There's a giant warning that says it does not come with anything.
Yeah, it's a development platform. And what is actually really interesting and totally makes sense is the PineTab-V uses the Star64 RISC-V single board computer that Pine64 released earlier this month. So that makes sense that they're, incorporating the RISC board they're already using in these new devices.
Well, their goal is to push development further with RISC. And if companies don't do what Pine64 is doing, it's never going to go anywhere. So this is not only them obviously creating a cool product at a very good price. Both of these are just $159, by the way, either one you want. But they're helping to get RISC-V to that point.
Who else makes a RISC-V tablet?
Yeah.
Leave it to Pine64.
And who else makes it a company that you really trust? And I do really trust Pine64. And both are available in the hardware configurations of 4 gigabytes of LPDDR4 RAM, 64 gigabytes of eMMC 5.1 flash storage, and 8 gigabyte version with LPDDR4 RAM and 128 gigabyte of eMMC. So you got options there of which one that you want. But at $159 starting point, that's a really, we talked about the Chumby having amazing starting point. Pine64 is one of those companies that keep creating starting points that are kind of blow your mind in there. And you mentioned the differences in the chassis is just really color. So one is deep black and the PineTab-2 is silver gray. And they both have the detachable backlit keyboards that you can connect on there. Mm-hmm. And it also doubles as a carrying case. So really cool. I mean, all of that for $159, that's pretty awesome there. And a lot of people, I think, listening to this, you're going to want to go with the ARM version, which uses the Dinknix. I think that's how you pronounce it. Arch Linux variant. It's like a mobile version of Arch.
I guess too.
Yeah, something like that. So you have software with that one. Again, RISC-V doesn't come with any software on there, but still really cool for developers.
And also the PineTab-2 is they say that it is a much more upgraded, and the hardware and the software and everything on the PineTab-2 is much better than the previous PineTab version. And some people look at Pine64's devices as like they are enthusiast devices and that only certain people should get them because of that. And that is the case in a lot of products that they ship, but they're also, the PineTab-2 seems to be like very close to being a daily driver type of device. It might not be exactly right now, depending on what you need for your software and what you need from your tablet, but the fact that it has the hardware that it makes it capable does seem like, I'm excited for this one.
Yep. So go get your pre-orders out there now. Sorry for prying your wallet open twice so far on this episode, but let's do it a third time with our gaming pick, which I'm really excited to talk about. Jill, tell us about it.
If you follow politics in the U.S., you likely find yourself daydreaming, looking outside through the window about leaving the planet behind.
All
and
the
seeking
time.
out.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And
I was like, where are we
out-
going with this? Yeah, makes
Yes.
sense. Yeah.
And you may want to seek out new life forms and new
Definitely.
civilizations and
100%.
boldly going where no one has gone before, like
Yes.
with Picard Season 3.
Yes,
Throw
Jill.
that in there.
Yes, Picard
Sorry.
Season 3.
So our game this week will help you embark on your dream, at least virtually. And the game this week is X4 Foundations. So X4 Foundations is a universal simulator and exploration game. You fly your ship, explore space, and manage an empire, trade, fight, build, and you got to think very carefully while you embark on your epic journey in the universe.
Michael, do you think that we would be really good at this game, and Jill, just because of the fact that we run an empire in Linux?
Yes.
We
I
have
think so.
so much experience managing an empire that
Yes.
we
100%,
destroy it.
especially because of that, our empire. It also means that we can fly every ship, obviously.
Yes. Yeah.
Because we have
Our
so much
empire could strike
experience.
back.
Yeah. This is true.
Yes, and sometimes the Jedi's return, but sometimes the Empire.
Yeah.
dominates.
The dark side is a little bit evil, Ryan.
Oh,
You like how we went from like Star Trek
Star
references
Trek,
to Star Wars references?
aren't they
people?
the same
Yes.
thing?
No.
Oh, I can't wait to get the hate mail on that one.
Oh boy.
All right. Yeah.
So
Trek Wars
Trek-
coming this soon, this fall.
So
Your
X4 Foundations just had a massive update in the triple A graphics title with over 13,500 mostly positive reviews. It seems they're doing a really good job. And X4 is a living, breathing space sandbox running entirely on your computer. And you can transition seamlessly from first-person action, boarding ships, and visiting their bridges in an expansive strategy and management simulation. Choose your own path at your own pace.
It's pretty cool. I'm on also
strong
like
word. Awesome.
the different things you can do are interesting because you have the whole flying a ship and fighting in space. You can also do things like trading with other people in the game and that sort of stuff. But I think the most interesting thing is that it also has like a stealth mode where you have to steal stuff,
yeah.
and that's
So
just
cool.
fun. That's just
Yeah,
fun.
it's just really cool.
Having the
And-
combination of all of that is kind of like it's like a sim and Mass Effect sort of stuff, like all slammed together.
Ooh, Mass
Yeah.
Effects. Good call.
Yeah,
back
it's
on
an
that one.
open. Yeah, it's an open world. The graphics are spectacular. They're fantastic, and it's right up my alley. That's for sure. And Michael and Ryan's.
Oh yeah, the music is awesome there. It's $49.99 on Steam, but
That
works
part's not
with
up my
Linux.
alley, but the rest of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a AAA game. The graphics and things there. But Jill, I got really interested in this game because season 3 of Picard, we got to take a moment
Yeah.
to recognize that I, like Michael and most people, did not like Picard's as a Star Trek fan first 2 seasons, but this third
Because they're
season
terrible.
has been absolutely like
Epic. Yeah.
epic. That's the word. Epic.
Yeah.
Okay, the real question here is, as a Star Trek fan who also cares about their own sanity, can I skip season 1 and 2
Yeah.
and just
Absolutely.
watch 3?
Yeah.
Yes, you could just
start-
go straight to 3. And I
Okay.
suggest if you've not watched Picard, skip straight to 3. Forget the first 2 seasons. They're weird
That's what,
and not great.
Me and my husband did because we had started watching the first season and didn't really follow it, and just popped in on the third season, first episode, and you're good to go. You have a new story arc.
Perfect. Because I watched the first 2 episodes of season 1, and
Yeah.
then I immediately was like, no, I'm done.
Yeah, you're like
this
me.
is not watchable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and honestly, I'm so excited about season 3 because it's what Patrick Stewart promised before the series even began. That the Federation was going to become corrupt and dismantled, and now the original crew has to bring it back together of next gen. So
and it's so
that's what's
epic how they
happening.
do it.
Yeah.
And you're going to be so excited watching it. So I definitely recommend everyone check out season 3 of Picard, and it's going to make you want to go out there and boldly go where no one has gone before. So you can pick up X4 Foundations to make that pretend journey.
Did you
there.
cover this game this week so you could talk about Picard?
Yes,
Yeah,
shut up,
I
Michael.
think so. Yeah.
I loved it that much. You see, my comment was already there the moment that story was written. So, yes, 100%. I love Picard so much.
Go grab it on Steam.
Season 3. You need to specify.
Yes, season 3.
And it
only.
sports Linux out of the box.
Yes.
Penguins go keep marching.
Both Star Trek and this game.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
All right. Our software spotlight this week is a little bit different. BlueBubbles. And what if you could get your iMessages on your Linux machine like you can when you're using your Mac OS and your iPhone, for instance? And I know there's people out there who hate Apple. This isn't the software spotlight for you. But there are other people who have multitude of different devices. Like Jill has a museum. She has Mac, Windows,
This is
Linux,
not the
mostly
spotlight
Linux.
you were looking for.
Yeah. There we go with the Star Wars reference. If you have a mixed ecosystem, but you want to use Linux, of course, primarily, and you want to get your messages on your Windows devices, Linux devices, Android devices, you could use BlueBubble there to do that. So in their frequently asked questions, they answer how this is different than another service called AirMessage, which they have a dedicated iOS and Android style themes, number one. They have community-driven features and contributions that they take to make this app better. Dedicated desktop apps for Windows and Linux, totally self-hosted, so you don't have to rely on developer servers, and tons of customization and settings to personalize your experience, and private API features that have extra bits of functionality in them. And it's available as a flat pack. So if you have a mix of different devices, but utilize an iPhone for your communication with your friends, check out BlueBubbles, or get all your friends on Discord or Signal or something else. You could do that too. But if you want to use the iMessage on your device, you can do this. And I think this is just really cool option that we have to take the convergence that Apple has, but extend piece of it into the Linux ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. This will actually come in handy for me, Ryan, because for communicating with my family that have all moved to iPhones and iOS and Mac OS. Michael and Ryan even have iPhones.
How dare you? Don't talk to people about that. But it's true. Listen, Android's just become so bad that the reality is most of my friends and things have all moved to iPhone as well.
True.
And that's how you
First
communicate
of all,
to them.
let's address the elephant in the room, okay?
Yes.
Why people were thinking, why are y'all talking about Blue Bubble on this thing? Like, well, it's because we all have Blue Bubbles, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, because we're
For those
all
who
a
don't
bunch
know,
of blue bubbles.
if you're not an iPhone user, then you have a green bubble when you're talking to iPhone users, and they know that you're not an iPhone user.
We're
they
like
know.
gross every time you mess.
They're like, ew.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my goodness, ew, how
green
dare you.
bubblers.
Yeah, these green bubblers. But also, I've only been doing it for like a couple months to kind of test the waters and see what kind of experience
don't
it
even
is.
try to act.
That's
it's
all I'm
better,
saying.
and you know
it's
it.
Just, no, see, that's why I wanted. I was like, I saw the note that Jill was going to say it. I was like, I'm gonna delete it so she doesn't. Hopefully, she doesn't remember.
I saw you delete it, but
And then she remembered anyway. But
Michael was
it's
going to
just
try
a
to
couple
hide
months.
this from you all, but we're not going to let him. He can't edit this whole part out. We're just going to keep going so that he can't edit it because there will be no show left if he does.
Oh, my
Michael
goodness.
has joined the Apple ecosystem on his cell device, and
Now,
there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. Let me clarify to people the reason why, because I've had a few friends and family who found out and were like, "Oh, so you're a hypocrite, or you're like a traitor to the Linux or people?" And no. Android is
sucks.
barely Linux. Yeah, it's not good. It's barely Linux. And most people would argue that it's only Linux because it's convenient for us to talk about how Linux is so dominant. But otherwise, we don't really want to admit it's Linux because it's terrible. So, and also Google versus Apple. Which one is the worst? We're not saying which one is better. It's which one's the worst. That's the debate. So it doesn't really matter which one you're using. I don't think so. Except for the fact that iPhone is better.
yeah.
There you go. There it is. Speaking of, that's Michael's tip and trick of the week. The iPhone
No, it
is better.
No, it is not. The tip of the week is a very different thing, and it's also related to kind of an open source concept of licensing through like stock photos and things like that. And we're going to be talking about Openverse. So you know what you never have enough of? Free stock images, photos, and audio, and that sort of thing.
I was going to say money, but okay.
I mean, okay, you can also never have enough money, really, but but in this case, you don't need the money because this is free stock images and free stock audio. So that's why our tip of the week is a thing called Openverse, which gives you openly licensed versions of all of these types of things. And if you head to openverse.org, you can start searching for images for your website or your podcast or YouTube video or whatever you're needing for. And also you can get some audio clips there as well. And I think they're working on adding more different types of media stuff there. But right now you can get tons of stuff. They say that they have more than 700 million creative works to look through and filter through. So that is awesome.
Most of that's hand drawings by me.
At least 2 million of those is Ryan's hand drawings, yes. So you can go to openverse.org to check it out.
Well, the cool thing about this is they also have the search on the side allows you to set specific licenses that you want. And it also gives you an explanation for those licenses because certain licenses in art is, you can share it, but you have to give an attribution. Certain things you have to give no attribution. There's a lot of options there. So don't just go there and grab something without checking the license on it, but you can also filter in their search.
You can make it where what the results you're getting are what you want it to be and that sort of stuff. And to be clear, this is using Creative Commons. And Creative Commons is a license that allows you to release something with the intention of being freely accessible. But there are also multiple tiers of Creative Commons. There are things that are like for non-commercial or no derivative and that sort of thing. So if you want to use this stuff, make sure you check which one you want because there are some that just require like share alike or attributions and stuff like that, what Ryan said. So you can just specify, include those. But if you want to do something that would allow you to make money from it, then the non-commercial license would need to be, pay attention to those.
Yeah. And by the way, this made me start thinking about, do you remember going to like Software, etc., Software Boutique, Walmart or other places and picking up these CDs that had like 10,000 stock images on them that you could use for your website? Specifically, you would use it for your Angel Fire site or GeoCities.
GeoCities.
Or one of those things out there.
GeoCities was way better than Angel Fire.
Yeah.
I missed the stock image CDs. In fact,
Me too.
because I was unpacking all my stuff, I found some old stock image CDs that I had. And so, all of them were terrible pictures for the most part. We look horrible on a website today. But that's not, as Michael knows, going to stop me from using them on my website. So
he's going to make a whole collage of all of these different photos images. and then print it out and put it on the wall behind him.
And by the way, for all the younger people listening, a CD is a compact disc or otherwise a storage medium that you could record, store, and play back audio and video in a digital form. You could write to it using freaking lasers, which is really
That's
cool.
what made it cool.
I know.
It was cool.
Was
laser discs.
Was cool. Oh,
freaking lasers.
Lasers. But also, just to be real quick, not only is it an interesting thing you brought up the CD stuff, and I've never heard of Software, etc.
Really?
Oh my goodness.
Never heard of it. Is that? I mean, based on context, I know it's a store that sells software, right?
It was a software store in the mall.
In the malls.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
You'd have to have gone to malls and be one of the cool people.
I went to a mall occasionally.
Yeah.
I just don't think they existed in my state.
Well, here's what happened that was really bad. During the time that Software Boutique was out, it was like the place you would go to get a lot of
never heard of that one either.
Amazing software. But people, they had a really good return policy. And so what people started doing is they would get the software, buy it, like $500 Adobe Suite or whatever it was, take it home, burn a copy of it, then take it back. And they were doing this in mass, which I don't know if that's the full fall of Software Boutique. There's probably a lot of other reasons, but pirating in this case definitely hurt their business bad because I remember over the months their return policy kept changing and changing and changing because people were just basically stealing the software from them and stuff there. So It was a great store, though. I would just sit there and look for their games and software for an hour or two and hang out in the mall there and just go aisle by aisle. It's kind of like these things called bookstores that used to exist, too, where you could look through. The kids are probably so confused about this episode, Michael.
I mean, I don't even know what bookstores are.
Yeah.
Aw. We used to have a store here called Computique, and I loved Computique.
I remember that. Yep.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
We didn't
I
have the
missed
store,
out
but
a
we
lot of
had
cool
the
stuff.
catalog would come to our family store that we could order from Compute.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
So
yeah.
I missed out on Software Boutique, Software Etc., the Compute thing, whatever.
Computique.
And also Chumbies.
Yes,
So-
and also, but if you type the word Chumby at openverse.org, you will get a lot of great images of what people have done with their Chumbies and the hacks they made on them and where they
Unbelievable.
use it.
Wow.
Nice
No clue.
callback. Love it.
Amazing. All right, so that's it. I hope you enjoyed what I think was an amazing episode of Destination Linux with the Chumby, with the Star Trek references, the Star Wars references, and let's just throw a Lord of the Rings reference in there for something.
I can't do that. I don't
Come
know.
on,
I've never seen
Michael.
the show.
Yeah.
My
Oh,
precious.
jeez. There you go, my precious Chumby. So
Oh,
big
yeah,
thank
I
you.
could do that. My precious.
Yes.
Pretty good. It's pretty
Thank
good.
you. Thank you.
A big thank you to each and every one of you for supporting us by watching or listening to Destination Linux. However you do it, we love your faces. Get on Discord right now. Join us at tuxdigital.com/Discord. We got all kinds of cool rooms set up there. You can find people to hang out with, build your network of open source and Linux loving geeks right now. And if you want to watch the show live, what you need to do is become a patron of Destination Linux. And Michael, we're bringing back the $3 tier of the
That is
patronage
correct.
right there. When I mean bringing back, I mean we never meant to cap it in the first
We
place.
accidentally somehow capped it, and I
Oops.
don't know what happened. And
Sorry.
people couldn't sign up for it. And
Yeah.
everybody who had signed up for the $5 or higher during that time, thank you very much. Continue to pay that same amount. And but then we are making it possible to do the $3 tier. So if you are interested in doing the patronage of the Tux Digital Network and the $5 is too much, we have the option for now doing $3 per month.
Yep, absolutely. So check out tuxdigital.com/contribute to sign up. And I'm taking Michael's section because he took mine. You want to come to our 60,000 square foot virtual
Wow.
stadium where all of our patrons come to hang out, and they even get the after show. They get to watch the show get created live, which there's so much content you're missing. But if you're a patron and you
true.
miss the live, it's okay, because you can watch the unedited version, which includes all the bloopers, mess ups that Michael does on a daily, hourly, minute
see why you
by
wanted to
minute
take this one.
basis. And also, you're going to want to show your love like Jill did for Chumby for this show by going to tuxdigital.com/store and picking up some amazing swag there. We have t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, and yes, stickers, because we know you need lots of stickers because you want to be like Jill in every way, which I don't blame you. And you see Jill has a cabinet full of stickers on her wall there, lots of Destination Linux stickers and lots of open source stickers there. You can pick up some of the network stickers right there on tuxdigital.com/store to go pick up. Plus we have all kinds of other merch and cool stuff there as well.
And make sure to check out all our incredible shows here on Tux Digital. We have the Pseudo Show, This Week in Linux, the Das Geek Channel, Linux Out Loud, Hardware Addicts, GameSphere, and our virtual Linux user group, Linux Saloon. So head to tuxdigital.com and subscribe to all these awesome shows. And don't forget to leave a rating on your favorite app so others can discover the power of open source and keep those penguins marching in the full Monty of Linux and open source awesome sauce.
As the person who is hosting this episode, it feels weird that I didn't get to do the segment for the patrons and
But you stole
store.
my community feedback. So I
Yeah, okay, that's true, but it still feels a little
Yeah.
weird. So just real quick, tuxdigital.com/contribute and tuxdigital.com/store for all of your great, awesome Tux Digital merch. And so thanks everybody for watching.
Have a great week. And remember,
How
that-
dare you? The journey itself is just as important as the destination.
Thanks, everyone.
See you next week.